Hello, everyone. We're back again. Myself and Steve, the Ironsworn guys. We're back. This time, not talking about Ironsworn. Not really talking about anything. What are we doing,
No,
Steve?
we're playing a game. Shocking.
Yeah, right. And what
Yeah.
game are we playing?
We are playing one of my to be played games for 2024, a Dead Belt.
Yes, we are playing Dead Belt, a solo RPG for space cowboys. Now it says solo right there on the cover.
It does.
How come there are two of us, Steve?
I figured I'd just watch you play the game.
That's it. It doesn't count for you.
That's
You can't tick it off if it's just watching me
oh,
play it. Yeah.
right. Well, in fact, there are actually you can't really see very well, but there are co-op rules in the back of the book here.
Yeah, and this is a game that doesn't play in the theatre of the mind. It plays in the theatre of what, playing cards? I think that's what we'll call it.
Yeah.
Because a game of Dead Bell looks very much like this. So we have laid out on the table in front of us, or the virtual table in front of us, so face down playing cards. Now they represent the blueprint of a ship that myself and Steve are going to be exploring and salvaging from. Now, in this game, Dead Belt, we are belters. That's our job, and it's our kind of mission to go out and salvage things of value from birds, is what these kind of ships that are hanging in the Dead Belt are called,
Hmm.
colloquially. So we've kind of picked a couple of characters to play. There are a few classes and there are a few kind of mechanical benefits and drawbacks to each one. And we've actually, you should randomly determine what ship you're going to look at, but we have just decided to go with the most simple one for this little playthrough and kind of see how that comes out. So my character is called Tucker, and they are the class of cowboy, which is, I'll read the little bit of flavor text about him. It says, out here on the raggedy edge, not everyone's a hard scrabble scavenger doing it because the world didn't leave them options. Some folks are like you, doing it for the glory, the prestige, and the red-hot adrenaline thrill that only comes of laughing at the empty wheeling of the stars. You've got a wild soul, friend. And as you can see above my head, there are some stats that I've got. There's grit, which is your kind of catch-all stat for your luck and your I guess like your
It can,
moxie and
yeah, it helps you turn a failure to a success if you
yeah.
spend it.
So mine's 4, which is pretty high. My gear is 2. Gear is kind of things you use to you spend it to kind of get yourself round problems. Glow is something that we all start with 1 of. It's just a kind of a material thing, so you can see into the next module. These playing cards each individually represent a module on the ship, a part of the ship, and if I want to look inside one without walking straight into it and finding out what nasty surprise is inside, I spend a glow. But we've both only got 1 each, so it's a valuable resource. And then my bottom stat is load. And I don't do much carrying of anything because my load is only 2. And I think that's reflected in my character. And we're going to meet them. So we're just going to have a little scene in the cockpit of our ship. And my character, Tucker, is in an immaculate spacesuit. And when I say immaculate, I mean like for this situation and for this environment. The ship is dirty, it's industrial, it's hard scrabble, it's grimy. And without wanting to speak for Steve, Riggs is pretty grimy too, I'd imagine. But Tucker is well kept. His suit is neat and clean. His nails are short, and his hands don't look like they have done any sort of labour, let alone hard labour, in his entire life. And he's sitting there, kind of reclining on the seat behind Riggs, who's piloting the craft. And Tucker is kind of shuffling, kind of envelope shuffling these playing cards together, kind of doing little kind of hand tricks and manipulation with those. He's someone who looks like butter wouldn't melt, but we know that somewhere underneath there is the truth of like he's a scared kid. He's only maybe 25, and he's out here because he's in debt. All of our belters are in debt, but you know this kid likes to gamble. He likes to take chances. He's hot-headed. He's impetuous, but you know he's also a belter, so things can't be going that well for him. So that's Tucker. Tell us about Riggs, Steve.
Yeah, so sitting at the pilot console of our ship, the Double Down, which I think is actually Tucker's ship,
Hmm.
and maybe he won it in a gambling
It's
bet, or like won it as part of a bet.
I've certainly got it, and
Yeah,
and I'm still in debt. So, and it's not a great ship. It's like the second worst ship you can have.
yeah,
So it's not that glamorous a life. The
yeah.
gambler Tucker leads.
He won the deed to it,
Yeah,
which the person intentionally lost so they could get out from under
yeah.
the debt.
I
Yeah,
didn't win this ship. I lost. Someone lost it to me, and
yeah,
like they weren't bothered.
yeah. So Riggs is this man in like maybe his mid 40s, mid to late 40s. He is a little bit grizzled, has some stubble, some scars on his face and neck, and he is wearing what looks like an old military jumpsuit. Uh, Maybe he was some sort of like space marine or something like that. And so he still has some of the like insignia on there that has been worn by time and use. And he is studying intently the panels in front of him as he is guiding the ship in towards this bird that we're going to start exploring, because Riggs is the vet. That's his class. And the little description of him is, or the description of the class is, you were never going to be able to just go home again. Maybe you weren't in the Consolidation War. Maybe you never fired a weapon in anger, but your time in the service changed you anyway. Civilian life didn't take when you mustered out. You had too many burrs and rough edges. On the drift, you rubbed too many people the wrong way. Now you're drifting out here with the rest of us, on the lonesome frontier, just trying to make your way. But it beats piloting a desk, doesn't it? The vet has a grit of 3, a gear of 1, a glow of 1, and a load of 4, because he's a little beefier and burlier than Tucker.
Yeah,
And
you
then
can do the heavy lifting. I'm not interested in manual labor.
yeah, I'll do all the heavy lifting. I'm gonna go with my classic grizzled warrior voice. And the special features, he's got a couple of abilities that will come up or won't come up as we explore the bird. So
Yeah.
why don't we just jump in as the ship, our ship, the Double Down, is approaching this civilian like class bird
Hmm.
that is just floating out here amidst a whole bunch of other wreckage, and this scanner pings that there may be something valuable here. So we come closing in on it, and kind of one of the things that we have to decide first is where we want to land on this ship. So Matt, where does Tucker want to land here?
I think he's probably asleep when you're talking. This is not a
Okay.
decision that he's interested in.
Yeah.
If you let him make the decision, he would land in the place that offered the most fun. And I think
Mm,
you probably should have woke Tucker up about 5 minutes ago, but
yeah.
you decided not to,
Yep.
and because you know that you'll probably get the best, most logical place that you would find to dock the ship that will put us in the
Yeah.
least amount of danger. Because give me the decision and it will be curtains.
All right. Well, I think that we should aim for the middle of the ship. So I'm going to take our red joker, which represents our airlock, and I'm just going to plop it down on the ship here.
Mm. And it's mechanically possible in this game to stick the airlock right over where the payload, which is what we're looking for, that's the big ticket
It
value item that we're trying to
is.
find.
Yeah.
Um,
So hopefully I didn't pick wrong, because currently our ship, which is like the Jackdaw class, so it's got a pretty sizable cargo hold,
mhm.
but we have no upgrades on this. Eventually, if we survive this salvaging and we get some money, we can buy a scanner which can let us see the module that we're planning to land on, which will help with not landing on the payload. But Right now we just landed blind, so hopefully we find something of value.
Yeah, and I think that kind of grinding of our airlock, kind of making contact with the bird, is what wakes Tucker up, and
Yeah.
he's kind of looking out of the window of the ship, and I think it strikes him that even though this ship is the ship that we've landed on, the bird that we're about to pick clean is it's in a bad way. It's been out here for who knows how long. It's not flight worthy, but it's probably mirrored a little bit in the state of our ship. Like ours is not that far off how bad this one looks. But I think he's gearing up. He's getting his helmet on. He's getting his respirator on, and he's ready to go and pick it clean.
Yeah. Well, would you like to take the first move?
I'm already there.
Already out the door. Riggs is still checking over all of his gear, and the airlock hisses open. And as Tucker's boot kind of disappears through, Riggs is like, "Hold on there, kid. Maybe don't hurry ahead too fast."
Yeah, Tucker's like, yeah, not quite catching that, Riggs. Maybe clean out the pipes on the old comms. And yeah, I will go north. I will go to the module directly up above where we dot. And I'm just hammering on the controller, like not thinking about noise I'm making. I'm not thinking in any way of looking or checking if there's any threats to my left or right. I'm just tapping on this door and trying to open it.
All right. So when you first enter a module, we're going to roll a d6 to check our gas. Gas represents our oxygen levels. If we run out of gas, we dead. So we start with it's basically a stepping up on a d6. So we start at a 1d6. You roll a d6. As long as you don't roll a 1, you're good. You've got oxygen for days.
Mm-hmm.
If you roll a 1, then the next time you have to check your gas, you roll a 1 or a 2. It goes up to 2 if you roll a 1 or 2, so on and so forth, until you get to 6, in which case you die.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt, would you... Tucker needs to roll a d6.
Yep. Let's do it. I feel good about this.
All right. Here we go. Oh, buddy.
So I kind of I'm just kind of tapping on the kind of the mouthpiece of this, and I'm like, yeah, I know what that means, but I'm in no way trying to. I'm in no way letting on to you that I'm running through my oxygen quickly. So I think you come over the comms, and I kind of just go clear you in, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still breathing. Let's see what we got.
All right. So, we're going to flip over this first card here. Got 5 of spades.
So the 4 suits represent different things. Generally, black cards are bad and red cards are good. And I think of the black cards, the spades are the worst. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, usually, yeah. Because the clubs are like obstacles, barriers. And so usually they either are something that will block your way from continuing, or once you're through them, you can't go back that way. But the spades are like actively bad things that happen.
Yeah. Okay. So my prompt is it's the 5 of spades, right?
That's correct.
It says active sensor ping. Feel it in your fillings just now. Someone out there just did a tight beam sweep. Wager they know you're here now. Roll a d6. So, Steve, let's see how the dice go again.
How's a 5? Yeah, well, that's a big step up from a 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, it still doesn't sound great. It says a vulture gang demands their cut. Your upkeep goes up by 1 for this trip. So, yeah, sorry about that. So I think that what happens is Tucker presses this button and this door kind of slowly judders up, and he steps inside, and much to his displeasure, it's just a kind of an empty kind of cargo hold. There are a few bits of scrap and detritus on the floor, but kind of civilian nonsense. There's a few papers. He filters through them, and there's nothing of use. But as he's down, he kind of looks at his wrist monitor, and he picks up the ping. And I don't know if it says a lot about the relationship that Tucker has with Riggs, but he quickly mutes it because he's like, "Oh man, if Riggs sees this, like, oh man, I'm gonna hear about this all the way back to the station." And I know what it is. I know that there are vulture gangs out here, and quickly dismissing it, I think maybe it's a gang that know my proclivities for games of chance, should we say. And I think that they know. I think what this represents is when we get back to wherever we go, whatever refuge we end up in, they're going to be looking for me and knowing that I brought back some something of use. And I think they're going to be thinking, well, if Tucker's got a little bit of cash to flash, they better flash it my way. And that's what they're thinking. So I think that's what that represents. So over to you.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I think this is not the first bird that Tucker and Riggs have scavenged, despite the fact that we don't have a whole lot in the way of upgrades. Maybe we, when you won this bird in your game of chance, we traded in our old ship, and because this is the way of things, those upgrades that we had on the old ship, they don't cross over. It's a different manufacturer, all that stuff. So we're dealing with a fresh bird of our own. And because this is not the first time that we've done this, Riggs is going to go the opposite direction, because since there are two of us, we can cover more ground if we split up. So Riggs is going to head south on our little list here, and gonna roll a d6 to check for gas. Here we go. Oh, God. Cool. Well, so what this tells me, since we both failed that roll, is that this ship is one of those sort of standard civilian transports, but it's modified. And it's modified in that it has extra cargo containers attached above and below. And then the bulkheads have been cut open and force welded together. So their cargo spaces are even larger. So it just takes us a long time to move through these initial modules, because there's just so much space here, and we have to explore it, have to look for that payday. So I'm gonna flip this card as the O2 sensor goes up. I think as Riggs is looking at that, he just comes over to Tucker and is like, "Hey kid, how's your O2 doing?"
Fine. Why?
It's just is your side pretty big too?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look as big from the outside, but
No.
these things rarely do.
Yeah, well, just watch your indicators.
Yeah, you know me. I'm always watching my indicators.
Yeah. All right. Looking around. So I've got the 10 of diamonds, that's good. That's salvage. We found something. So the 10 of diamonds is filter units. It ain't glamorous, and it ain't quick to fiddle them out of their housings, but these babies are what made life in the void possible for this bird's crew. Still a little life left in them, too. So they're worth 2 load, which means I'm going to take those, and I'm going to fill up 2 of my 4 boxes of load. So I'm halfway there.
So
I head back to the airlock.
Yeah, I come on the comms, and I'm like, "Find anything good, old man?"
Just some old life support units. Should be useful. Should sell for a little bit at least.
Sounds thrilling.
Yeah.
So yeah,
back to you.
Okay, well, I'm going into the tail of this bird. I'll go straight up ahead north. I think I'm kind of, there could have been something good in this. I think this module, but my cursory glance has revealed that it's nothing quite as shiny that Tucker's interested in. So he's just going to keep moving and push across. These are sizable cargo containers, as Steve said, and as a result, this is he won't let it show, but he's thinking this airlock now starting to feel quite far away. So let's see what we got.
Yeah, here's your out of gas. All right. You're good.
Take a nice, big, deep breath. This sweet oxygen. This is going to last me forever. I feel invincible.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's explore this card here.
Ooh. I'm excited by red cards. That's a 9, right? Yeah.
That is a 9.
Okay, 9. 9 of Hearts says, last gasps. There's a recharge port for walk-around bottles here. It's probably about dry, but you might be able to scrounge a little more O2. So, when I encounter any of those, we roll a d6. And on a 1 to 3, I get nothing. On a 4 to 5, I get a gas back. And on a 6, I get 2 gas back, which goes in our crew's hold, doesn't it, I think?
So it can go into your. So I think it can take your O2 back down to 1, and then if you get an extra 1, you have to carry that as load.
How heavy? How heavy can air be?
there's nothing free in the belt. All right, here we go.
Okay,
right.
yeah,
So
cool.
one.
So my gas goes back up. I feel like I'm
You're gonna live forever.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I could just waste this gas now. I could just take my helmet off and be fine. So I think you probably ping me on the comms again, and I'm already like, just leave me alone. Like, I'm a grown adult. I can do what I want, and I'm like, yeah, there ain't nothing back here. Nothing of use anyway. Because I'm so kind of devil may care about the whole thing that even life affirming salvage that I found that's probably going to keep me alive to get halfway back to the ship is just disinteresting. And I'd rather find a monster or a pirate than this old nonsense.
And I wonder if on the over the comms, Riggs can kind of hear a little bit of that extra burst of oxygen that you got, and you just sound just a little high, just like.
Yeah.
Just a little like, yeah, everything's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These containers don't feel so big anymore. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm physically. Maybe the artificial gravity is giving us a little bit more bounce in our step. Maybe, well, maybe it's just the back end of this bird. I don't know.
Just take it one step at a time. Watch every corner. Don't want to find anything unexpected around any of those corners.
I just like the fact that you're saying this and Tucker is like just skipping along, just kind of bouncing.
All right. Well, Riggs is going to continue in his pattern as well, because we're not doing too bad so far.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Let's check gas again. New module. Hey, 6. Beautiful. So we're gonna flip. Oh boy. So, a 9 of spades. Tidal shift. That sounds good, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That hole in space is always pulling on the belt, and sometimes she seems to get a mite jealous. She just gave a good hard tug, and now a good bit of the ship is like to come off. Roll a d6. We might have our ship here break apart. All right, here goes the dice roll. 4. So on a 4, a little damage control, and you keep most of the pieces in the local area. Roll shipbreaker as normal.
So yeah, each bird that we look at has. I'll flash it up on screen now, but they have lines of which they will break apart depending on the dice roll. But yeah, me and Steve are about to get a little further away.
So for shipbreaker, it says when prompted to make a shipbreaker roll a d6. Let's do that now. A 5. Consult your bird's deck plan to see which parts go tumbling off into space.
I love that this has
So,
happened. I love that this has happened whilst we're both at the complete opposite ends of the ship.
yeah. So, I think if I'm understanding correctly, on a 5 or 6, uh, basically the entire right half of the ship goes careening off into space.
Yeah,
Yep.
so the cockpit stays where it is, and everything, all the cards that we've uncovered, plus the one to the right of the airlock, break away to the right.
Yeah. It's not gone. We just have to
It's just set.
spacewalk to get back to that side.
Yeah.
All right. So, how we're going to represent that is I'm going to basically highlight all this.
Oh wow. So I think that Tucker suddenly, like as he's skipping along, comes to a sudden halt, and he's like, "Hey, whoa, what was that?"
I think I'm not sure what happened exactly, other than half the ship is gone. I mean, separated, not gone. I can still see it. And at this, we pan over to Riggs, kind of like at this hole in the wall, and his like Gravlock boots are holding him down, and he's just watching as the ship, that part of the ship that broke, is drifting slowly away. It's like, uh, yeah, and our ship, I can see the double down. Um, oh boy.
Yeah.
You okay, kid?
I'm okay. I'm attached to our ship. But yeah, there's still meat on this bird. There's still meat on these
Yeah.
bones. Hey, like, and I think that this looks bad, right? From the outside, this looks way worse than we're playing it. And then I say to you, "How lucky you're feeling, old man."
I mean, I've not had great luck so far.
And I think when you're saying that, I release a kind of a hatch and it opens out into space and I can see the other side of the tail and I just say to you, well, I'm going for a walk and I step out into space. So
Tucker,
I'm
don't.
and then
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
too
too
late.
late. Yeah. I'm going to spacewalk. So spacewalking
Aha.
means you can go between these two modules, but it's going to involve turning over more cards. And yeah, luckily Tucker is someone who has a special ability that comes into play when spacewalking. So it says when you spacewalk, roll a d6, but then you draw a card, right? Is that right?
Only if you roll below a 6.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking for red cards. So
Yeah.
I'm up for doing this. So I will roll a d6. If I roll a 6, it's fine. I make it. If I roll a 4 or 5, I draw one card, and if it's red, I make it. And if I roll a 1 or a 3, I draw two cards, and they both need to be red for me to make it. Is that right? Am I understanding that right?
I think that's right.
Now, my ability as the cowboy, which is pretty handy in situations like this, which is why I was so excited to step out. My ability says, yeehaw, see you, space cowboy. You see my authentic American accent there. It's great, wasn't it? It says, when you spacewalk, you only need to draw one red card to cross the gap. So, let's do it. I need to check gas, don't I, as well?
I would assume so.
Yeah, so let's check gas first. What we got?
I actually think that we should do the spacewalk first because you check gas when you enter a module.
Oh, that's a good
And
point.
we don't know yet that you're going to enter this module.
Yep, no worries. Let's
So,
do it. So let's roll a
yeah,
d6.
so here's the D6.
So that is a 5. It says draw one card from the unused portion of your deck. So let's see what it is.
Oh, look at that.
That looks like a red card to me.
Looks like a red card.
So I'm like, woo, and it's like deafening you in your comms, and I'm just having like the greatest time because I'm still a bit high off that extra O2, and also the situation. And I don't think that I'm in any way making a graceful entrance to the other part, and I just kind of smash through this kind of half hanging off door and find myself on my belly in this module. So let's see what's in it.
Well, first of all, because again, nothing is free in the belt.
Oh yeah.
Just because you got a red card, you still have to spend a resource to make it across. So you can choose to spend a grit, a gear, or you can check gas. In which case, you're going to check gas twice.
I will spend a grit.
All right. So you're down to 3.
Yep. And then I need to check gas.
Yep. Buddy.
But it's fine. It's fine. I caught some fresh air on the way between the modules. It's okay. Let's see what's in here. It can't be anything bad, I hope.
Of course not. Oh, beautiful. 7 of hearts.
7 of hearts.
If
So
you get more O2, I'm gonna question whether or not you're a bad gambler.
7 of hearts. 7 of hearts says stripped conduit. This whole section of the wall is worse for wear, but that means it's easier for an enterprising belter to get their hands on what they need. So that's going to give me some gear. So yeah, let's roll another dice and see how much gear I can strip out of this place. 5. So I gain 1 of the marked supply. So it's going to be 1 gear, I guess.
Yeah.
So does that go above my threshold, or?
Yeah. So you have a maximum of 2 gear that you can carry. So you can carry that gear as part of your load. And then if you use a gear, I think you could take from your load and replenish your stats. So would you like to put that 1 in your load?
No, I think I just don't think he's interested. And like, what is it, conduit? I think that I've crash landed into this thing high on the adrenaline of leaping across space and all that stuff. And I think that, you know, I see at first his eyes light up because everything in there is shiny. But then as he looks at it, it's kind of copper wiring and zinc plated nonsense, and it's all technical stuff. And he's not interested in that. He wants trinkets. He wants objets. He wants things. He wants treasure. He wants things that like he can show off, and no one's going to be interested in this. The scrappers back at the station might be interested in the weight of it, but I can't carry all that. So I think he kind of takes one look at it, and he's like, "I gotta push on. I gotta push on." And I kind of calm you, and I'm just like, oh, "Man, someone as boring as you would love this shit in the back here, but." Man, give me something to work with, please.
Riggs is like, what did you find?
I mean, do you want me to paint you a picture? Because it looks like a mess of cables. You've seen spaghetti, right? Imagine it's metal. I'm sure it's got some value, but I ain't carrying this shit.
Fine. Now, I'm going to put a token on there because supplies that we find, if we can't carry them, they remain on the board. So, you know, there may be a chance to come back for it at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, I like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to.
No, of course.
You can. I think
maybe I'll go that way.
I think as well, like, I think Tucker is enjoying the fact that, like, we've got a little bit of opposites day going on. And I'm like, so you've gone to the front of the ship, you've pressed a button, which means that the entire bird broke in two, and I'm the one finding boring shit in the back. Like, what's happening?
Yeah. Sorry to disappoint.
Well, you're nothing.
Gas.
You're nothing if not predictable, Riggs.
Whew.
Oh, hello.
All right, we got a face card. Jack of Diamonds.
And I think
so far.
I can hear the like the anticipation as you step in over comms. Like maybe you were kind of grumbling over, as you stepped in between the thing, and then you suddenly stopped talking, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
what you got, old man?
Oh, well, it's not much bigger than a pack of smokes, but got some self-contained microfusion arrays.
What?
Yeah, they're a little unstable, but they should be able to power some of the double down for a little while, and that's another load too.
So you're pretty laden.
Which that fills up my load, which really kind of puts me into a bind because I should go back and dump my cargo back into the airlock. Um, but I'm afraid to jump across that void.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have broke the ship in half.
Well,
that would have been, if you were scared of having to spacewalk, Riggs, the thing you shouldn't have done is broke the ship in half. That would be the first. That's your first mistake, really.
I wouldn't say I'm afraid to spacewalk. Just not my favorite thing to do. And he's just kind of like looking around at this, which maybe is like close to the engine room, and so there's like a catwalk that leads down to where the engine might be, and he's just looking at this array of batteries that are essentially locked into slots on the walls, and he's just going along like plucking them off and stuffing them into a bag as they're having this conversation, and continuing to head up towards the next section. But it looks like there's only one way for you to go, my friend.
Wow. I can spacewalk back to the other side, but I'm going to come straight down, and I think I'm picking up the pace now. I found a couple of things. None of it's very exciting. So let's roll for gas.
You're tired. Yeah, you're tired of me getting all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Oh. Just breathing a little heavier.
Yeah. So that's I'm now a coin. I'm a coin flip for gas every time I enter a module. And yeah, I feel like since you split the ship in half, this has really started to go south. But I'm trying not to show it. But it looks like I've discovered something that's probably not quite as interesting as your modulators or whatever they were. That boring shit that you found.
I mean, it's quite possible that you found something very interesting.
Yeah. So I think
what it is.
He's moving quickly, not checking at all where he's going. Not learning any lessons at all, and hasn't since birth, I don't think. What is this, an 8, yeah? 8 says, biometrics engage. Authorized user module just clicked on. That's going to make getting the doors to play nice and open up a little harder. So, let's roll a d6 and see what happens.
Now, this would be the point where I would ask, do you want to spend any gear to roll 2d6 and take the better, or you just
on
that 1d6?
Let's do that.
All right. Take
Snake,
one off.
Snake eyes coming up. 3 and a 5. Yeah, I'll take a 5. So 5 says, movement is hampered as you find workarounds. Check your gas. Now, if I spend grit, do I change that result? Is that how grit works?
It only changes a failed roll to a mixed success.
Okay, cool. Right, let's check gas then.
Yeah.
It's a coin flip. 4, 5, and 6 is what I'm looking for.
Oh, all right.
It's fine.
Good.
Don't worry about it. So I think that he walked into this module and triggered something as he walked past. Something about him set off this scanner, and the doors were kind of going up and down, and there was pistons hissing around him, and he was just kind of confused by the whole thing. And he's just trying not to give on that anything's wrong his end, and just trying to get through that module as quick as possible. And he kind of bundles through more of these. There's like big tanks on either side, and it's all stuff that he's not interested in. And he's now starting to realize that he's probably going to have to spacewalk again to get back to the airlock, and also he is now starting to feel the impact of running out of gas. But also that kind of excites him, and he is starting to feel like he's in the zone, I think.
Yeah. It's never fun until your O2 levels are starting to drop. There's no point in being a gambler if there's nothing to bet on.
If you can't push it.
That's right. All right, Riggs is going to continue up. We're going to meet in the middle. That's going to be great. Starting to huff and puff a little bit now that I've got carrying those batteries with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just moving just a little bit slower. My O2 is up to 3 as well. The hair's getting a little thin in here.
I hadn't noticed.
Oh, boy.
What you got?
All right, I got a 9 of clubs, which is a barrier, which is good because I have a special ability. But let's check and see what this barrier is. First, jury-rigged seals. They made a messy job of keeping this module airtight. Look at that. Self-seal foam and epoxy resin. Going to take some doing to get it hot enough to peel it open. You've really only got the one shot. So we have to roll a d6. If I get a 6, it's a successful navigation. If it's a 4 to 5, I can get through, but then it's blocked after I traverse. And if it's 1 to 3, you have to return to the module that you came from. But I have the brute force and ignorance. If brute force and ignorance doesn't fix it, use more. Fire in the hole. Spend grit when you would fail a barrier roll. You may choose to succeed instead. So I'm going to roll my d6 and see what happens.
This feels pretty pertinent that we pass this.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't found the payload yet, and we have 2 unturned cards and where our airlock is. So here we go. Oh,
hey,
all right.
Crushed it.
Perfect. So didn't even need to spend that grit. So I think Riggs enters this area, and maybe it's because of the ship rattling loose, and maybe it's because of the biometrics that Tucker set off. But like stuff is going haywire in the ship, and doors are sealing and opening and closing. And I think that there are a series of bulkheads that are all designed to seal off in the event of a hull breach. And so as Riggs enters this module, these are like sealing and closing and opening and moving back and forth. And he is slowed down a little bit as he goes, but he is able to manually reset each one as he's going through so that it remains open and we can pass through this module.
And Tucker's really appreciative of that. But I think something catches your eye kind of in the periphery, and it's Tucker spacewalking again. So Tucker has kind of assessed the situation and realized that you're right next to one of the other modules we've not checked.
Yeah.
And, you know, I could just go there, but that's the boring option. So he steps out with his tether to the double down and just leaps gracefully into the air and spacewalks. So to spacewalk again, we are going to roll a dice and flip some cards, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Is that a 6?
Oh, that's a 6. Lady Luck is smiling upon us today.
Yeah.
Finally.
I mean, I've got to check my my gas as well when I get there. Oh, do I check my gas when I get back to the airlock?
You do. I'm unclear.
Okay, let's do it then. Let's check gas. Let's. I mean, that's
Oh,
not good.
buddy.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm over there.
Mm-hmm. So that's good. So you go. Now, the
Oh no,
other question is,
I
are
went.
you going right to the airlock?
I went straight to the airlock. Yeah, yeah, diagonally. Yeah,
You can move. Yeah, you can. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're in the airlock. All right. So I have a decision to make because I have 4 load already. And we need to check that final card. Okay. I think this is a pretty easy decision, actually, now that I think about it. And I am going to use my glow.
Oh, I keep forgetting we've got glow.
Yeah. So the Omni Flash. Its beam is enough to see by. Um, you can dump its entire battery pack in a focused beam. Use a charge of glow to see what is in an adjacent module before you think about entering it. Glow does not work diagonally or if there is open space between your module and the one you're trying to see into. Cool. So I have 1 glow. I might as well spend it because if I don't need to go into that, I'm going to spacewalk back. So I think that means I get to flip this car. Ugh.
I'm like, tell me you haven't found it, old man.
Well, looks like a hell of a payday. Unfortunately, kid, that means I'm going to have to dump everything I've been carrying so far.
Well, get moving.
So here's the question. Should I try to spacewalk back, dump my stuff in the airlock, and then come back for the payload?
I mean,
Or,
that's what I would. No, I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't be carrying anything. But the thing is the payload is going to be worth more than what we've got, right?
yeah, I mean, it's like 4 coin or 4 cred for um, 4 pieces of load.
Yeah. But I mean, you're looking at what 1, 2, 3 gas checks, and you're flipping coins. You're 50-50 currently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already, yeah, a hair's breadth away from being screwed.
I mean, do we cut and run? Do you do you get the do you go for the payload?
So here's the thing. We have 2 gas in the ship. So if I get back to the airlock, I can gas back up and then come back. The only reason I say me is because looking at the payload,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it is for tier 1 birds. It's a 4 load payload.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So you wouldn't be able to carry it in one go.
You could if you weren't carrying anything, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you either drop it or you spacewalk over, refuel, regas, sorry, and then go back
Yeah.
over again. And when you regas, you go all the way back to 1.
Nope. We have 2 gas in storage, which means, I mean, I could be at 5 by the time I get back to the airlock. That's assuming I make it back.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got a.
I can just like see the
Yeah.
paralysis going across Riggs's face,
Yeah.
and Tucker's getting impatient. He's like, "What's happening? Like, is it
So
good
I
stuff?
found it,
Is it
kid.
good stuff or what?"
Well, I don't know. I can't see the details of it quite yet. I just know it's in there. I need to either move in and pick it up, but I'm carrying too much stuff. I'm not going to be able to carry it back. I'm going to have to dump all this stuff that I'm carrying. No, 2 sensors again. Let me just.
Death or glory, old man. Death or glory.
And Riggs is going to step through the module to the payday.
Check your gas.
Oh, okay. 1 pass. Okay, we're not out of the woods yet. So, when you encounter the payday, roll a d6. This is where it can all go to shit. Yep. Okay, here we go. Now,
You can spend a grit though, right?
I was going to say, I should be able to spend a grit. Spend a grit to turn a failed roll into a mixed success.
Mm-hmm.
You may use grit as previously described on any roll during the salvage phase, module, payday, shipbreaker, etc. Cool.
Perfect.
I am absolutely going to spend a grit to turn that into a mixed success. So on a 4 or 5, choose 2 of the following bullet points that are true. So here are our bullet points. You don't need to spend a grit to remove it. You don't need to check gas to remove it. Removing it won't cause the ship to come apart. You won't attract unwanted attention from a threat. You can transport the payday in 1 trip regardless of size. It's worth more than you first imagined.
So the implication there is you pick 2 that are true, then the other 4 they will come into effect, right?
Yep.
So it says if you don't choose, you won't generate a threat. We will generate a threat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that I have to choose that I don't need to check gas to remove it, because I've got potentially 3 more check gases before I get back, depending on how the spacewalk goes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that has to be true.
Okay.
So if that's true, I'm going to spend a grit. That's fine. I've got grit. Removing it won't cause the ship to come apart. I mean, the ship is already half apart. You can transport the payday in 1 trip regardless of size.
You don't have to worry about that, do you? Because it's 4 and you can carry 4.
Well, yes, but I think if I pick that as true, it means that I can carry that and the smaller salvage. Yeah.
I mean, that almost rules out that if you're going to do that, you don't need to worry about the last option, which is how much more it's worth.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're choosing between easily transporting the payday over generating a threat and breaking the ship apart. And there's and, not or.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, paint the scene for us, Steve. What are we looking at and what are you going to do?
So Riggs walks into this smaller compartment, and actually there are there's a chart for this. So he walks into this smaller compartment, and it's close to the engine room where he found those batteries. And maybe this is like a secondary power cycler area. And he's looking around at all these cables that are running through. Some of them are detached. A lot of the sections that they've crossed through have been either empty, or maybe there's been signs of damage, some sort of like shearing of forces. But this compartment looks pristine. And he looks across, and plugged into the wall is the secondary feed shunt for the power core. and it looks basically like the day it was installed. Uh, it's weathered whatever travails this wreckage has suffered. And Riggs is going to look at it, and he taps his comm and he says, "It's beautiful, kid. It's intact, and I can get it out.
What is it?
It's a secondary feed shunt."
Oh,
I mean,
God.
no, it's really, I mean, that like it helps to bypass the power core when
Just
there's
get it out and get
overload.
back over here so we can get the
And
fuck out.
all right. So he is going to set to work in pulling it out, and I'm going to spend a grit. And then, sorry, buddy. He is going to pull it out, and he realizes that it's like a smaller piece than he thinks once he actually starts to disassemble it. And he pulls it out. He's like, "Oh, well, this is easy to carry." He just kind of like tucks it up under his arm and turns to start making his way out. I'm going for the money, bud. So we are going to have to roll a ship breaker move, um, and see where the ship breaks apart. I think
Again,
if we get lucky and get 5 and 6, the ship's already broken that in that part.
you've said it now.
So I think that means that it can't really break apart more, right?
Yeah.
And
Maybe
then
it's narratively, maybe it's starting to move away a little quicker.
yeah, absolutely. Now we have to generate a threat.
And I've only had a cursory read of this rule book. Threats are really bad.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that the threat being generated means that it's somewhere else, and we have a little bit of time. But also, I mean, this is part of the fun of playing this game is taking it out for a spin, seeing what
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah, yeah.
So, sad fact of this business is things sometimes don't go smooth like. Every so often, your luck and labor isn't enough to get in the way of that. That's when you find yourself facing down a threat. Good news is plenty of Belchers have walked away from problems like these and lived to tell the tale. Bad news is plenty more haven't. Roll a d6. Perfect. Rival scavengers. All right, so we're going to refer to the current deck plan, and this is going to determine where the threat starts. Oh, buddy.
Don't.
Nope, it's okay. It's fine. They're definitely not going to catch me because they land right up and to the right of where I am.
I think Tucker sees them coming in, and I'm like, yeah, we've got company. And I think that Tucker realizes that it's maybe the Vulture gang that pinged earlier has sold the location to these rival scavengers when they've
Oh,
like pinged
yeah.
me. And I'm like, I'm sure it's nothing, but if you could maybe expedite this a little, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm moving. I'm already moving. But it is, in fact, your turn.
It is. And I think that Tucker is really jealous of the fact that even though I've played it off as like I'm not interested in the tech nonsense that you've found and all this kind of rubbish that I've left behind, I'm really jealous of the fact that I haven't found anything, and I'm gonna use my glow to check the one last module that is to be checked.
Smart. Because if you
Not
don't have to
normally
move
a
that way,
yeah, not normally a word you'd associate with me.
Maybe I'm rubbing off on the kid. Oh, I mean, it's just supplies. That's probably not interesting to you, right?
I step through the door.
Back out into space.
Yeah, towards the threat. Yeah, I step through the door and go to supply. Check my gas. Fine, right?
I think you are at 4,
Yeah.
so your gas goes up to 5 now.
Wee, that's fine. Um, so that is a 10 of hearts. 10 of hearts says, catch your breath. Take a minute, Belter. This job is demanding and it's easy to get frazzled. The O2 will hold out for a minute. And that's going to give me grit. So roll a d6, please.
It's a 1.
It's a 1, but I might push that roll. We haven't done that yet, have we? Pushed a roll.
We have not.
Let me just find out what that does. Yeah. Yeah, when you push, draw a card from the remaining deck. If it's a red card, if it's salvage, it's worth +2 load. Or if it's a heart, the supply cards that I would normally get is worth the maximum amount. Okay, so I can actually keep going, which I will. And it's only if I can do it again. But if you ever get to 2 black cards, you can't push your luck anymore on the ship. And I feel like this is thematically appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Right, let's push it.
All right, here we go. Maybe. There we go. Hey,
there we go. So that is worth the maximum amount possible, which is, I believe, 2 grit.
Awesome. Well, you have 1 missing, so you can replenish 1, and then would you like to put a
grit in my pocket?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will take that. So I think that I burst into this last available module to check, and just trying to find anything of use, and I'm just stuffing whatever it is in my pockets, in my pack, stuffing it under my arm. And I think that in amongst this frenzied supermarket sweep style smash and grab operation that I'm doing, I actually pick up something that's useful, something that is that in a certain circumstance will actually be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me.
Excellent. Well, it's me now. Things are feeling real scary over here, but we're going for glory. And it's not looking great. So my oxygen moves up to a 4. Fine. Live forever. So with threats, every time you transit a module, after you check your gas, pull a card from the top of the unused portion of your card deck. The threat makes a move based on the suit of the card you pull. Okay, here we go. Flipping this card. Interesting.
Good interesting or bad interesting?
So yeah, let me remember that we're doing something here. A heart means that these rival scavengers move once toward your airlock.
I mean, it's just how we want to be kind to ourselves or not. So
Yeah.
the shortest route here is to go into the same space as you, right?
Well, the shortest route is to go diagonal to the airlock, because they're going to have to spacewalk either way.
Yeah, so it's 2 moves or 2 moves, one of which is a normal move, then a spacewalk, or just a spacewalk. So I feel like it's just a spacewalk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to do that. So what does that mean?
I agree. I don't know. I don't see any Pardon the cattail.
As the rival scavengers turned up.
The rival scavengers have come. They're very snuggly. Don't you do it.
They've come for our gear. They've come for the payload.
They've come for the gear. Okay. So I think I think going across in the spacewalk makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think the question that we have to ask, because I don't see anything in the rules for them having to make any sort of attempts on spacewalk, should we just follow the spacewalk rules for them, or do they just automatically succeed and get into our airlock?
I think, well, we don't check gas for them when they move, do we?
We don't.
So we shouldn't spacewalk for them. But what we want to do we want to make this really hard, or do we want to make this thematically interesting? Because thematically interesting would be that they move to the 5 of spades, which gives us both one move to get back to the airlock, which adds a little bit of tension. Or do we have them go straight to the airlock and we have to navigate whatever the hell it is that means?
So I will try to get this cat out of there. He can only go a certain amount of time without being paid attention to. So maybe this will help us decide. When the rival scavengers reach your airlock, they plant a tracer on your ship. When you head to your next salvage job, they'll be there waiting. So,
I'll tell you what.
As far as threats go, it's not that bad, especially, considering how the next few moments goes for our crew trying to get back to the ship. So we could just say that they go to the airlock. We could also roll a die, and if it's 1 to 3, they go to the airlock. If it's 4 to 6, they go to 5 of spades.
Yeah, or flip a card. If it's black, they go to the black card. If it's red, they go to the red card.
I like that. Let's do it. Flipping the card. Airlock it is.
Stick them in the airlock.
So they go to the airlock.
So if they reach our airlock, is that the threat actually done now? They've just planted that tracer and we don't have to engage with them when we go into the airlock?
I think so, because it doesn't say... yeah, it says they'll be there waiting, which to me says that's it. They're done for now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I'm into that.
Cool. So we will take them off the board, and then it's my move, isn't it? I
Yes.
already checked. Yeah, I already checked my gas. I moved into this. I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I will make my last move. I'm looking for a 6 to. Is it a 5 or a 6 or a 6 that I need to roll to check my gas?
You are on 5, so if it's a 6, you're good. If not, you're in the airlock. So
that's fine. Okay, fine. Don't ever break the habit of a lifetime of rolling ones for your gas checks. So put my gas all the way up to the max and put me in the airlock. I'm not letting on to you over comms that I'm in any way distressed.
Yeah.
But I'm fine. I'm more like will you stop? And the thing is, as well, I arrive in the airlock just as something has clearly just happened. Yeah. So, no, I don't want to make it as obvious as a door is swinging on its hinges as someone has just left out. But because of my my haste, because I'm running out of gas, I think I have not noticed something very, very obvious. Mm-hmm. And me trying to get you to hurry up means that you won't notice it either. So the thing that I don't notice is this tracking device.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are in the airlock. You don't need to make... I don't think you need to make the airlock move. Well, it says when you return to the airlock, roll a d6.
Okay.
So I think you have to do that no matter what.
Yeah, let's do it.
Of course.
You fall out into space. You are dead.
I mean, quite possibly. 1 to 3 is choose 2 of the following options. Now remember, I think you should be able to spend a grit if you'd like
Yeah.
to up this. So here are the options. You have to choose 2 of these. One of the nothing parts in your airlock burns out. It'll take a cred to fix it. Raise your upkeep by 1 for this trip. You'll need to improvise a storage solution. Spend a gear. It takes you some time to get things stored. Check your gas. Don't do that one. The airlock gives a lurch and tears away from the ship. You're done for the day. Please don't pick that one either.
So if I spend a grit, I can bump that up. And how many of those things then do I get to choose?
Then you only have to choose 1.
Okay, so I'll spend a grit.
Okay.
And I will bump that up.
Yep.
And
if you could spend a gear, but that would be your last gear.
Yeah, I think I'll spend the gear, and I think that it will be whatever it is that I need to spend, whatever trinket I need to use to fix this problem that's going off at the minute. And Tucker is not tech minded, right? I think it's whatever I just found on the Ten of Hearts. It's whatever I just found in that module. It's just the right doohickey to go into this place to make the beeping stop. And it's just dumb luck that's what's happened. But it's I think he realizes as soon as he engages that's going to keep the ship in one piece, and that's going to make sure you can get back over here. And I think you're coming over the comms and you're like, asking me like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm like,
where are those scavengers?
What scavengers? Nothing here. Just if you could just get a wriggle on and get back over here. If that wouldn't be too much trouble, that would be marvelous. And kind of sounding out of breath and trying not to give over that there is any kind of real danger of the ship breaking up into any more parts, because it really is. It's being held together by this little bit of screwdriver that I've just found in the other room on the floor and jammed into this one socket that's keeping it all together. So I'm now like looking out across the gap between the two halves of this ship, just kind of like, come on, you can do this.
And Riggs is going to get to the section. He's going to open the door. He's going to look across that vast gap between his part of the ship and the airlock, which he can see wide open. And he's going to go, I always hated doing this. And he's going to cast himself out into the darkness of the void. And we are going to roll a d6. See how bad this is. Here we go. Oh!
We can't check gas between us, but both times we've spacewalked, we've rolled 6s.
Yep. Okay, so now I have to check gas as I get into the ship. My gas goes up. That's okay. I've got 1 left. And I am in the airlock. Now I must also make the airlock roll.
I think you smash into me as I'm kind of waiting to receive you, and the bits you've carried have just gone spilling everywhere, and I'm so disappointed that it's not treasure or an artifact or anything. A 6, you say?
A 6, I say. You're able to stow what you've got, and you can get it right back to work. So yeah, Riggs careens into Tucker, and the two of them tumble back into this airlock. Riggs kind of like rights himself, shoves the payday into the payload, whatever it's called, into Tucker's hands, which I think he is very uncomfortable with, and just turns around and slams the button on the door, because I think he still thinks that those like scavengers are on the other side of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, let's get out of here. And the air hisses. They're able to get into the ship and detach from this bird and burn off into space.
And we pull away,
Okay.
and that's the first bird that we've done.
Yeah.
That went fine. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, that was great. We put so let's do the post scavenge stuff real quick, and we can talk about converting our cargo to cred. So we got the 4 cargo that I was able to carry plus the 4 for the payload, so that's 8 cred.
I think I've contributed quite a lot to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you did good, kid. You did real good. Now
You're right to say it.
now we make the bankroll. This is where we find out if we're in more debt just for existing.
It's a tough life out here.
It is a tough life in the belt. So here we go. Oh yeah. Compound interest.
I think it just ups your debt up by 1, doesn't it?
Yep, it increases your debt by 1. So our debt goes from 5 up to 6. It's fun.
Yep.
It's fun. Okay. Now we have to pay our upkeep. So we have to pay 3 cred because our upkeep is 2, and we had 1 temporary upkeep from that job. So
Yep.
we're going to take 3 away. That leaves us with 5 cred to spend, which is great. And then we can either pay down our debt or we can go shopping and buy upgrades.
I'm already flicking through the catalogs of like what I can buy on the way home back to the journey.
Especially because it takes 10 cred to cut down one
debt
piece of debt. So
Yeah.
We can't afford to buy down debt, so we might as well go shopping. Yeah.
So that went about as well as expected.
I mean, considering the test games of Dead Belt that I played to familiarize myself a little bit, both led to me dying of oxygen deprivation. I'm feeling pretty good about how that turned out.
Yeah, I don't know what the panic was all about. I have looked through my cowboy class moves or whatever they are, and there's like a debt move that is appropriate to all belters in this game if you ever reach 9 debt. And mine is if I ever reach 9 debt, I have to explore every module on a bird every time you go, and that's the smallest bird that we've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah. That was Dead Belt, everyone. Do you want to see me and Steve play some more? Do you want the further adventures of Tucker and Riggs? Because I really enjoyed that. It's really fun as a one shot, but like if we want to take it again, want to see what we buy with our ill-gotten gains and see if those rival scavengers who will be there at the next job cause us any more problems, then yeah, let us know in the comments, and we'll see if we can go picking another bird. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. It was fun.
Yeah, I had a blast. I feel like that the cooperative elements of it and being able to, I mean, we didn't even really use much in the way of like helping each other out with roles, which we could have done.
No,
But
that'd have been handy.
that would have been smart. But you don't call us smart. We're belters.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, that's us for March. We're in March now, aren't we?
we are in
So
March.
either way, we'll be back in April, maybe with another game of this, maybe with something else. But until then, goodbye, everyone.